Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to start today's journey in, well, a pretty strange place, inside your own mouth. Because believe it or not, by looking closely at just a single tooth, we can start to unpack one of the biggest questions there is. What is our place in the universe?
Yeah, I know, it sounds kind of out there, right? A tooth explaining our place in the universe? But just stick with me on this one. You're going to see how the design of this one tiny thing can totally change how we see, well, everything. So let's just dive right in.
So here's the game plan for connecting these dots. First, we'll look at the tooth's design. Then we'll explore two different ways of seeing the world. And from there, we'll bring it all together. Science, art, and, yeah, even our own purpose in the universe. Okay, so first up, a question of design. We're going to start by looking at something we all think we know.
I mean, stop and really think about a tooth for a second. It's just this incredible piece of biological engineering, isn't it? You've got these sharp cutters up front, heavy-duty grinders in the back, and the whole thing is coated in this ridiculously hard enamel. Our source material points out that this design is so good, it's literally meant to last your entire life. It's just a masterpiece of function. But here's the pivot. Is that really the whole story? Is a tooth just a super efficient tool for chewing? Or could it be pointing to something more? You know, that question leads us to this really fascinating idea from our source. The core concept is that we don't actually see the world directly. We see it through a kind of lens or a filter, and our source calls this lens the ego.
Okay, so at the heart of this is a concept called belief consciousness. Now, this is described as a uniquely human thing. It's this state of awareness that lets us see deeper meaning. It's the ability to see reflections of a creator's attributes, things like wisdom or power, in the world around us and even in ourselves.
And this ego lens, it's not just one setting. It can work in two totally opposite ways. Think of it like a switch. On one side, you have the positive ego. This one sees connection. It gets that it's part of a bigger picture, kind of like a brushstroke in a giant painting. It sees the link back to the artist. But flip the switch, and you get the negative ego. This one sees only itself. It believes it's completely independent, and it just cuts off that link, blocking out any deeper meaning. And this is such a powerful way to frame it. The positive ego, it doesn't see its own limitations as a bad thing. It actually uses them as a tool, like a measuring stick. It's this idea that, hey, only by understanding my own limited power can I even begin to comprehend what limitless power might look like. That is a huge, huge shift in thinking.
Okay, so let's take this whole idea of different lenses and bring it right back to where we started, our tooth. We're going to look at it from three really different points of view. All right, first up, let's call this perspective one, the scientist. This person looks at the tooth. They're blown away by the structure, the enamel, the roots, the whole shebang. They see it's an amazing piece of design. But that's where it stops. For them, the story ends there. Science explains it. That's the only truth they need.
Okay, then there's perspective two, the believer. This person looks at the very same tooth and sees the wisdom of a creator. They notice how perfectly the front and back teeth are placed, and they just feel this sense of gratitude. But maybe they stop there too, thinking, religion is enough for me. And in doing so, they might not bother with a deep scientific dive into how it all works.
But then there's a third way, the integrated view. This person looks at the tooth and does both. They are absolutely fascinated by the science of it, and they see that very same science as a reflection of incredible wisdom, of incredible artistry. For this person, there's no fight between science and faith. It's just harmony. And this idea of harmony, it's really the key to the whole thing. And it goes way beyond just our tooth example. We're talking about a truly holistic perspective, one that embraces science, religion, and art, all at the same time.
So from this viewpoint, truth isn't just hiding in one box. Science doesn't have a monopoly on knowledge, neither does religion. You've got art, morality, ethics, law. All of these are seen as pure, valid sources for learning. The point is, they aren't in competition. They're all just different pieces of the same huge, beautiful puzzle.
And you know what? When we start to see things this way, the world itself kind of changes. We begin to see the universe as something that's actively teaching us. It becomes a place where we're meant to, well, to read the signs.
Our source material has this fantastic analogy for this. The universe is a school, and in this school, everything is a lesson. That tooth, that's a lesson. The stars, also a lesson. Every single thing becomes a kind of signpost, a pointer, just waiting for a conscious observer to come along and read it. And guess what? That observer, that's us. So what are these signs pointing to? Well, according to our source, they reflect divine attributes. So for example, when you see life bursting out everywhere, you might perceive the giver of life. You look at the intricate ecosystems that keep us all going, and you might see the sustainer of all. And that perfect, intricate design of a tooth? Yeah, that could reflect the perfectly wise or the fashioner.
Okay, so if the universe is this giant school and it's filled with all this meaning, what's our job? What's our role in all of this? And that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle, our role as stewards.
The role that our source points to is one of stewardship. It's this simple but profound idea of being a caretaker, of being responsible for managing the world around us.
And this is where everything we've talked about just clicks into place. When we use that positive ego lens, when we see the connection, the meaning, the artistry in everything, we naturally step into our true purpose. The source gives us a specific name, the Caliph of Allah, which basically translates to the steward or representative of God, tasked with looking after this incredible place.
So think about that. We started with a single tooth, and just by choosing to look at it as more than a piece of biological machinery, by seeing it as a sign, as a piece of art, we've gone on this journey all the way to a worldview that is just packed with meaning, connection, and a really deep sense of purpose. And that really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. You know, whether it's the veins on a leaf, the way the tides work, or even just the layout of your city, what's an everyday design in your life that holds a deeper meaning for you? It's a pretty fascinating question to ask yourself. Thanks so much for joining me.